Hi there YouTube, Caitlin here, and today I'm going to show you how to make a coconut milk caramel sauce. So to start off with, we are going to put our pan over medium-low heat, and we're going to add 1.5 cups of lightly packed light brown sugar to this. You could use darker brown if you wanted, but that tends to give it a bit more of a molassesy taste. If you prefer that, that's totally fine. I do tend to find it also gives it a slightly richer taste, and it's a bit easier to work with than white sugar as well. To this, in this case, I added 3/4 of a cup of coconut oil because I was working off of a recipe that I adapted that used 3/4 of a cup of butter. In this case, I think that was actually too much oil. If you do this, I would recommend only using between 1/3 and 1/2 cup. Also, we added there just a splash of water, maybe just 2 or 3 tablespoons. That'll just help the sugar start to melt. We're also going to add a little sprinkle of kosher salt or sea salt. I would prefer not to use iodized table salt in this case, just because with sweet applications, I prefer to avoid adding extra kind of off flavors. So we're just going to mix all our ingredients together, and we're going to heat that over kind of medium-low until the sugar is no longer grainy. Yeah, so this is about the part where I realized I just had too much oil. I edited this part out, but I'm actually in a moment going to take the pan off the stove briefly and just pour off some of the excess oil. So I think once I did that, I only had maybe 1/2 cup or 1/3 of a cup in the actual pan. So at this point, you can see that the sugar has started to melt. I'm just turning up the heat to medium here, and we want this to start to boil a little. So you might need to stop stirring it for a second to see that. There we go, there's the bubbles. So we are going to want to set our timer for 5 minutes, and we are going to cook this while it boils for 5 minutes. Just watch the can splatter, so try to keep your hands not within the splash radius. And I fast forwarded this a little bit because nobody really wants to watch 5 minutes of me stirring sugar. There's really no trick to it. You just stir, scraping the bottom, making sure nothing is staying in one place for too long, for about 5 minutes while the sugar boils. You will notice the texture starts to change. Any bits of graininess that are left should disappear as it melts. Color might darken a little bit too as well. Actually, the color should darken a bit too as well as it continues to caramelize. Again, don't turn up any higher than medium though, because we don't want to burn the sugar. Burnt sugar is just going to ruin this. Alright, so we've hit the 5-minute mark. I'm just going to, off to the side, I'm opening a can of coconut milk here. Just be aware that if your pantry is cold, the coconut milk may have a solid layer of coconut cream at the top. This isn't going to be a problem if you're about to just dump the entire can in here like I am. This is a 400 milliliter can. But if you wanted to make a thicker sauce, you might want to add only half the can, in which case it would be a good idea to kind of break up the coconut cream in the can, pour it off into a separate bowl, and then just add the amount of coconut cream and coconut water from the coconut milk can that you want. So we're just going to stir this in until the mixtures come back up to temperature, because it is a little bit cool in my kitchen, so the coconut milk in the can was a bit cool and brought the temperature down. We also want to make sure we scrape the bottom, because there might be some solidified caramelized sugar on the bottom that hardened there when you poured the cooler liquid over top. So I think I've got it about well mixed. I don't feel any patches of hard sugar on the bottom anymore. So what we're going to do here is I'm just going to add a splash of vanilla, and then we're going to leave this on medium for about 10 minutes. So about 10 minutes later, after you do that, stirring occasionally every now and then, this is actually what you should come back to. So as we can see, the color of the mixture has deepened a bit more. It's also a little bit thicker. I don't know if you can quite tell from the way it's bubbling, but the mixture has thickened somewhat as it reduced. So after 10 minutes of cooking on medium heat, we are actually going to take this off of the burner, and we're going to leave this to sit off the burner for about 20 minutes or so, stirring every now and then to let it thicken a little bit and reduce just a bit more before we pour it into our jars. And that's really all there is to it. Again, this is a flexible recipe. Add a little bit less coconut milk if you want it to be thicker.